My thoughts on the new Fantastic Four movie. So I watched the new movie a few days ago, and my thoughts are I really, really enjoyed it. It was fantastic. Uh, I'll pause there for my brilliant joke. Just bask in my brilliant humor for a bit. I know, I'm the best. Anywho, for those of you who don't know me, this take is quite surprising, considering I am the most critical person alive, but I genuinely enjoyed this movie. It felt like a breath of fresh air after oversaturated corporate slop. It didn't prioritize spectacle and shock value over character, and gives you enough time to fall in love with each of these characters before pitting them against the big bad guy of the movie. Um, it doesn't rush into anything. It gives the plot time to breathe and let you really get excited for what's to come. Uh, and the general sense of being self-contained, I think, really helped this movie a lot, because Fantastic Four didn't need to worry about decades of previous continuity or the burden of setting up another cinematic universe in the future. And, you know, maybe I'll make a video on this in the future, but I'm actually really concerned about the state of cinematic universes in general. And although I used to be a die-hard MCU fan, I'm starting to wonder if maybe such a formula wasn't such a good idea after all. Um, so yeah, call me Doubting Thomas or whatever, but uh, I think that the cracks in the cinematic universe formula are beginning to show. So maybe that's something we can discuss later. Now, two major genre defining superhero movies in a decade full of flops were released this year. So obviously there's going to be a ton of contention between these two. Which one was better? Which one was the best? And of course I'm referring to Super Fantastic, the Superman versus Fantastic Four debate. So, um, did I like this movie better than Superman? Uh, Drumroll please. Yes, I liked it a lot better than Superman, if I'm being honest. Now, please don't kill me, all you James Gunn fans out there. But, why why do I like Fantastic Four better? Better. Why do I like Fantastic Four better? Um, by all accounts, I should be a die-hard James Gunn Superman fan. I love I love it when movies, how do I say this? I love world building in movies. I love it when a movie can really pull you into another world from beyond your wildest dreams. I love it when it can captivate your imagination. And both of these movies do exactly that. They're both colorful and bright and hopeful and draw you into these fantastical worlds. Like it's straight out of like they're pulled straight out, like it's straight out of a comic book. And that's amazing. But I think Fantastic Four did it better. I know, I just said it. I think Fantastic Four did it better than James Gunn's Superman. So, both of these movies take place in colorful comic book worlds, totally unique to what we're used to in modern superhero movies. And I liked the setting of Fantastic Four so much. It was bright and hopeful, as I've said before, and it looked like it was ripped straight out of a '60s comic book. Um, and it was just so refreshing after decades of superheroes going up against grounded adversaries with no color grading. Instead of going up against the Serpent Society, Cap goes up against some generic terrorists with machine guns. I'm just like, give them their comic book origins. Let them be campy and silly. Let the villains dress up in their silly costumes. Like, don't be ashamed of the fact that you're adapting a comic book. And that's exactly what Fantastic Four does, and I think it does it really well. So why do I like Fantastic Four better than Superman? Both take place in colorful comic book worlds, totally unique to what we're used to in modern superhero movies. And yet, for the new superhero movie, it makes the world confusing and disjointed, constantly throwing characters and concepts at the audience, as Superman himself is crushed under the burden of setting up a new cinematic universe. And the comic bookiness of Fantastic Four, however, enhances and streamlines the plot, allowing the Four to be as weird and wonderful as they were always meant to be. The stakes feel real, the conflict feels perfectly plausible within the confines of their world. You can see everything that you need to know for this movie. It doesn't start you off. I mean, I think we also need to have a talk. I think we also need to have a talk about origin stories, because both of these movies take a similar stance when it comes to origin stories. These days, people people don't want to hear the same old origin story of a superhero over and over and over again. We've all heard it before. Uh, as Spider-Verse put it, I'm pretty sure you know the rest. And it becomes kind of pointless to tell the same story when we already got the Four's origin in the 2005 movie and the 2015 one. I'm sorry. I know we don't talk about the 2015 one, but it exists, unfortunately. And the same thing with Superman. We've seen his origin done so many times through across the years. We don't need to see that again. So both these movies take the same stance on origin stories, dropping us off in the middle of their respective characters' careers, so that we don't need to watch the same thing play out, the same events play out all over again. And yet, I feel like Fantastic Four once again does this better. Because it still explains the Four, it still explains who they are, and allows us to learn about them as characters. With Superman, you're just dropped straight into his life. Which would be okay if the movie wasn't already trying to do so much more. Now, this movie had a lot cut from it. You can even see that in the trailers. A lot of scenes that seemed like they probably had a lot of meaning and depth behind them. And of course, John Malkovich's mysterious villain, the Red Ghost, was cut from the movie entirely, along with a lot of cool concepts that could have really enriched this movie. And instead, it seems to kind of rush through these things that seem kind of important. Rushing towards a conclusion. Now, a part of this could be because of all the parts of the movie that were cut out. A lot of it was removed, and including a lot of these scenes that seemed pretty important. And it also just glosses over a lot of things that could have been, that really should have been expanded on more, such as the Four's influence over the public, and the public starting to lose trust in the Four. That's a major plot point for around 5 minutes, I guess, until Sue gives a little speech, and then all that just goes away. Everyone loves the Fantastic Four again. So, yeah, I would say that's an issue, but it doesn't ruin the movie for me. Let's talk about the characters. I was so scared that Fantastic Four would be all spectacle with superpowered beings fighting Galactus, and we wouldn't really know anything about them going into the next movies. I was so scared that they would just be misinterpreted and just completely fumbled. But man, was I wrong. For so long, I have wanted a Fantastic Four character piece, something that delves into each of them and who they are as people, how they feel about their powers and abilities, how they feel about each other. And Fantastic Four was as much a superhero action sci-fi adventure as it was a family driven, as it was a story about family and friendship. But we still got a lot of insight into each character, and even with large segments of the movie cut, I feel like I could really get behind each of them as characters. So let's start with Reed. Reed Richards is probably the most iconic member of the Fantastic Four. Well, no, they're all pretty iconic, let's be honest, but Reed is so much more than the smart rubber guy. No, that's not really a good way to open this, but Reed In the comics, Reed is believed to be the smartest human being on planet Earth. And the movie delves into that a lot. What it must be like in Reed's psyche to imagine everything, to have to consider even the worst possible scenarios. Sometimes Reed's brain is so analytical and scientific that he'll he'll consider the unthinkable, and he. But this version of Reed still has a lot of warmth, and you can tell that he's and you can tell that he doesn't allow this analytical side of him to win. With the help of his family, of his wife and family, with the help of his wife and family, Reed grows a lot and learns to and has learned to grow past. Why is this hard? Never mind, I'm going to write a breakdown of each character so that I have a better idea. Sheesh, this sucks.